Hello friends, welcome to Kavita Medico's Education. This is part 2 of cystic fibrosis. So in part 2nd of cystic fibrosis, we are going to start with the clinical manifestation or sign and symptoms of cystic fibrosis. So it's a multi-system disorder. That's why I have written sign and symptoms according to the system of our body. So first we will read the respiratory system. So what are the sign and symptoms that we will see in the patient? Okay. So first we will go for respiratory system. So first we have persistent cough with thick mucus. So patient will have a continuous cough and that cough will be released with a thick mucus or bulgum. Why there is continuous cough? Because the secretion or thick mucus is getting accumulated in the airways, in the air passage. So patient will try to release the cough. Okay, patient will try to expel the cough out from the body. So he will do a coughing process. So he will have a continuous cough that will be thick mucus or bulgum. Next we have wheezing. Wheezing means a high pitched whistling sound will come from the patient whenever he will inhale or exhale the air out. That is also known as labored breathing. Okay, so why there is labored breathing? Because through this passageway, through this airway passage, the CO2 gas is not able to release properly. Okay, the gases are not getting the pathway. Okay, due to the cough is accumulated in the airways, so the gas will not able to release properly and it will produce a sound that is known as whistling sound or wheezing sound, which is also known as a labored breathing. Next we have a repeated lung infection. So patient will suffer from repeated lung infection. Why? Due to the thick mucus accumulation in the respiratory tract, a lot of bacteria and viruses will get accumulated there. Okay, they get a good environment over the mucus. So microorganisms will attack in the mucus and they will make their home in the mucus. Okay, they are getting a suitable or sustainable environment in the mucus. That's why the patient will suffer from lot of respiratory infection. Like example, we have bronchitis or pneumonia. Next we have sinusitis. It means there is an inflammation of the sinus. Okay, so patient will have a bluffy nose. He will have a thick mucus accumulated in the sinus region. Okay, so due to the mucus accumulation in sinus region, there will be inflammation and infection in the sinuses. And sometimes the patient also got a polyp there. Polyp means a non-cancerous mass or non-cancerous tissue get in the nose of patient. Okay, so it's a non-cancerous mass which the patient will have in their nose, and due to which the patient will feel a difficulty in breathing. Okay, he will have a dyspnea condition. So now let's come to the digestive system or gastrointestinal system. So here first we have poor weight gain and growth. So patient will have a poor weight gain and growth. Why there is poor weight gain? Because the digestive enzymes are not released properly in the intestine. Why digestive enzymes are not secreted? For example, we have pancreas. So it's a pancreas and it's a pancreatic duct. Due to the accumulation of thick mucus or mucus plug will clot. Okay, mucus plug will block the duct. Okay, pancreatic duct, and it will also block the liver and gallbladder duct. So digestive enzymes will not able to release properly in the intestine and food will not able to digest properly and intestine will not able to absorb the food properly. That's why in children or in infant there is a slow growth process. Next we have foul smelling greasy stool. So the infant or baby will pass a foul smelling greasy stool, that is also known as steatorrhea. So why there is steatorrhea condition? Due to the deficiency of lipase enzymes. So lipase enzyme is not released and some gallbladder enzymes are not released, due to which the fat will not digest properly and that fat will come out into the stool of a baby. That is called as steatorrhea. So a foul smelling stool will come out. Next we have meconium ileus. This meconium ileus condition is seen in the infant. Okay, it means the infant feels difficulty in passing the stool. Why infant is feeling difficulty in passing the stool? Due to the hard thick mucus get accumulated in the intestine as well, and the stool will not able to pass through that hard and thick mucus. That's why the baby will feel difficulty in passing the stool. That condition is known as meconium ileus. Okay, normally the baby pass stool after the birth within 48 hours to 72 hours. But in this condition, the baby will have a difficulty in passing the first stool, that is known as meconium. Next we have constipation. So this constipation problem is seen in the young children and adult, and sometimes we can also see the rectal prolapse condition here, okay, due to the constipation. Next we have diabetes. So why there is diabetes? Because the pancreatic enzymes, okay, pancreas is a gland which function as an endocrine gland as well as exocrine glands. So in endocrine function, the pancreas will not able to release the insulin properly. Why the pancreas is not able to release the insulin? Because when the pancreatic enzymes get accumulated here in the pancreas, then this pancreatic enzymes will slowly destroy the pancreatic cell, okay. They will slowly eat the pancreas, okay. They will slowly destroy the pancreas. That's why the beta cell in the pancreas will not able to produce the insulin, and the patient will suffer from type 1 diabetes as well as type 2 diabetes. Next we have fat soluble vitamin malabsorption. So there is a malabsorption, there is a deficiency of fat soluble vitamin because the fat is coming in the stool, that is known as steatorrhea, and the lipase enzyme is not released properly, and the liver enzymes are not released properly, and fat is not able to digest properly. That's why the fat soluble vitamins will be deficient in the body. So which are our fat soluble vitamins? For example, we have A, D, E and K. So patient will have a deficiency or malabsorption of vitamin A, D, E and K. Next we have biliary cirrhosis. So a cirrhosis enlargement condition is seen in the liver due to the biliary duct, okay. From the biliary duct the enzymes are not released. That's why sometimes the patient go through the liver cirrhosis condition, that is inflammation, irritation and enlargement of the liver. Next we have pancreatitis. Again there is an inflammation in the pancreas because the pancreatic enzymes destroy or do the apoptosis process in the pancreas. That's why the patient have a pancreatitis condition. Now let's come to the integumentary system. So in integumentary system we can see a high concentration of sodium and chloride in the sweat of the patient, okay. Because of cystic fibrosis, the sodium and chloride bicarbonates and more sweat is produced. So a high concentration of sodium chloride is increased. Next we have salty sweat. So how we will diagnose salty sweat? When the parents will kiss the baby, they will feel a salty taste in his sweat due to the concentration of sodium and chloride. Again patient will have a dehydration condition because lots of water and sweat is released and lot of electrolytes are released. So patient will have a dehydration condition whenever there is a warm environment or whenever he will do excessive physical workout, okay. So he will have a dehydration condition, and the electrolyte balance will be the electrolytes will be imbalanced in his body because all the essential ions are released in the sweat like sodium and chloride. So he will have a electrolyte imbalance condition in his body. Now we will come to the reproductive system. So first we have infertility in males. So in males we see the infertile condition. Why there is infertility in males? Because the mucus or thick mucus or viscous mucus will accumulate in the vas deferens. When this thick mucus will plug into the vas deferens, then the semen will not able to go to the genital organ and the male will be infertile. Sometimes there is an absence of vas deferens. Next we have reduced fertility in females. Similar conditions seen in females due to the accumulation or plugging of cervical thick mucus in the cervix, okay. So when the thick mucus or mucus plug will coagulate the cervix area, then the semen will not able to pass into the cervix and infertility condition can be seen in the female also. Next we have other symptoms. So what are the other symptoms? We have first delayed puberty, okay. So a child will suffer from delayed puberty condition. Why there is a delayed puberty or delayed adolescent condition? Due to the malnutrition and chronic illness. So all the vitamins and minerals are not absorbed properly in his body, and due to the deficiency of vitamins and minerals he will have a hormonal imbalance. That's why he will have a delayed puberty other than his peer group. Next we have osteoporosis. Osteoporosis means weakening of the bone. Okay, the bone will become very fragile, weak, and it can go through fracture also. So osteoporosis condition can be seen. One more condition is there, that is known as osteopenia, means there will be pain in the bone. Why there is pain in the bone? Due to the inflammation process and vitamin D deficiency and calcium deficiency also. Okay, so when the fat soluble vitamin is lost in the stool, then patient will have a vitamin D deficiency. That's why he will have a bone problem like osteopenia and osteoporosis. Next we have digital clubbing. So finger of the hands and toes will club and his nail will bend into the forward direction. Okay, they will bend. Why there is a clubbing of fingers and fingers of hand and toes? Due to the chronic or long term hypoxia condition, low level of oxygen in his body for long period of time. Okay, so he will have a digital clubbing problem. Next we have diagnostic evaluation for cystic fibrosis. So what is the diagnostic procedure for cystic fibrosis disease condition? So number one, we have clinical presentation. It means we are observing the sign and symptoms in the patient. Like in infant, you can observe for passing of meconium, or is infant having a failure to thrive or failure to growth. Next, in children and adult, we can observe for respiratory infection, like is patient having any respiratory infection, pneumonia or bronchitis, or is there any difficulty in breathing or coughing process. Patient have gastrointestinal disorder, or in male and female we can observe for the infertility condition. Next we have history collection. Here we are collecting the past history of the patient, like in his family, his sibling or his parents having a cystic fibrosis disease condition, or was someone in his family having a carrier for this cystic fibrosis disease condition. So you will collect all the past history of the patient. Next we have amniocentesis. So it's a prenatal diagnostic procedure. Okay, so here in amniocentesis we are collecting the amniotic fluid, okay, from the abdomen region of the mother. Okay, and in that amniotic fluid the baby's DNA is there. Okay, so we will go for DNA analysis here and we will check the genetic problem, that is CFTR mutation here. So it's a prenatal diagnostic procedure. Next we have chronic villus sampling. It's also a prenatal diagnostic procedure in which we are taking a projection of placenta here. Okay, only a projection of placenta here we are taking. So by observing the chronic villi, we are observing the baby's DNA here for any genetic mutation or CFTR mutation. So these both are prenatal diagnostic. Next we have newborn screening. So in this newborn screening test, we are pricking a needle in the heel of a baby and we will collect a blood sample from there, and in that blood sample we will observe for the protein that is known as IRT protein. IRT means we will measure the amount of immunoreactive trypsinogen in the blood of a baby. Okay, so this immunoreactive trypsinogen, if this immunoreactive trypsinogen is high in baby, it means maybe the baby is suffering from cystic fibrosis disease condition. Okay, so we are what we are doing in this procedure, we are pricking the heel of baby and collecting the blood sample from there, and we will observe the protein or enzyme that is known as IRT. Okay, this enzyme is secreted by the pancreas. If this IRT level are increased, it means maybe the baby is suffering from cystic fibrosis disease condition. After that we will go for sweat chloride test and genetic test if this test is not confirmed properly. Next we have sweat chloride test. So here the name indicating sweat chloride means we are observing or we are finding the amount of chlorine in the sweat of a baby. Okay, so here we will inject a substance that is known as pilocarpine. So this pilocarpine substance is injected into the forearm or thigh. Okay, so we can inject it through any route, like through the forearm or through the thigh region. So this pilocarpine substance is injected into our skin with the help of iontophoresis procedure. Iontophoresis means we are using an electrical current here. So through the electrical current we are injecting pilocarpine substance. Okay, so after 20-30 minutes the patient will have a sensation in the body and he will produce a sweat, okay, from the sweat gland. Then we will collect the sweat through the filter paper and we will observe the chlorine level in the sweat. Okay, so if we are observing for the infant, if the sweat chloride level is less than 40, it means the infant is healthy. If it is more than 40, it means there is some disease condition or there is cystic fibrosis. Next, in children, adult, we have more than 60 millimole per liter. Okay, if the chlorine level in the blood is more than 60 millimole per liter, it means maybe the infant is suffering from cystic fibrosis disease condition. Then further we will go for genetic testing. Okay, so next we have genetic testing. So here we are observing the mutation in the CFTR gene. Okay, if there is one mutation in the CFTR gene, it means the person or the disease person is a carrier of the cystic fibrosis disease condition. If there are two mutations in the CFTR gene, it means he is having the cystic fibrosis disease condition. So basically what we are observing in genetic testing, so we are observing a amino acid here. Okay, the name of amino acid is phenylalanine. Okay, so if this phenylalanine is absent from the delta 508 position, it means the patient is having a cystic fibrosis disease condition. Next we will go for other tests like chest x-ray, there is pulmonary function test, there is blood test, or there is liver test. So through chest x-ray we are observing the other disease condition of lungs like bronchitis or pneumonia condition, and through pulmonary disease condition, pulmonary function test, we are observing the healthy condition of lungs. Okay, that our lungs are still healthy or not. And through blood test we will observe the microorganism in the blood. Okay, and we will also do the liver function test, that is the patient liver is healthy or not. Next we have sputum culture. So by collecting the sputum, we are observing the microorganism in the sputum, because in cystic fibrosis disease condition the microorganisms get invaded into the mucus. Okay, as they got a suitable environment in the mucus, so they will inculcate or they will make their home in the mucus. So we are observing the mucus of patient through the sputum culture. Okay, next we have nasal potential difference. Okay, so here we are observing the ion transport. How is the ion transport? Or we are observing the potential difference. So in nasal lining of epithelial cells, we are observing for the ion transport. Okay, that our sodium ion, our chloride ion, our bicarbonates ion are properly passing through that membrane or not. Okay, what is the potential difference of our nasal lining epithelial cells? So if this NPD level is high, it means maybe the patient is having a cystic fibrosis disease condition. So next we have treatment of cystic fibrosis. So there is no cure and no particular treatment option for cystic fibrosis disease condition, because it's a multi-system disorder. Okay, so here we are only relieving the sign and symptom of the patient and we are preventing the complication of this disease condition. Okay, there is no particular treatment for cystic fibrosis disease condition. Okay, we are just relieving the sign and symptoms. So first we have airway clearance therapies. So what are airway clearance therapy? First we have chest physiotherapy. So in respiratory system we will do the chest physiotherapy, means it can be done through the percussion therapy, through the handcuff process. Okay, here we are teaching the certain breathing exercises to the patient for releasing the mucus out from his lungs. So through the percussion and through the cuff process and through the breathing technique, we are helping the patient to relieve the mucus out from his lungs. Next we have postural drainage. It means we are giving certain types of positions to the patient to drain out the mucus from his respiratory system. So here we are giving positions to the patient to drain out the mucus from his lungs. Next we have positive expiratory pressure, means through the vibration technique or through the vibratory machine we are clearing out the mucus. Next we have mucolytics. So mucolytics are the drugs which will break the bulgum or phlegm and it will make the thick bulgum into thin condition. Okay, so it will be easy for the patient to cough it out. So in mucolytics drugs we have hypertonic salines. So salines which are more than 0.9%, they are known as hypertonic saline. And next we have rhDNase, that is Dornase alpha. It means the recombinant human DNase alpha. This recombinant rhDNA alpha will break the DNA in the mucus and it will make the mucus in a thin condition. Okay, So these mucolytics are drugs which are given through the inhalational route, okay, through the nebulization techniques, not through the oral routes. So these medicines are given through the inhalational route, means through the nebulization technique. Next we have bronchodilators. So this bronchodilator will broaden the bronchioles, okay, they will widen up the bronchioles, so it will be easy for the patient to do the breathing process, okay. So the patient will not have any dyspnea condition if we will give the bronchodilators, because they will dilate the bronchi and bronchioles. Next we have vaccines. So it's very important to get vaccinated according to its schedule or according to its annual schedule. So certain vaccines are there, for example influenza A and B vaccine. Next we have pneumococcal, COVID-19 vaccine, and certain other types of vaccine which we should get vaccinated according to its routine, okay. So it's very important to get vaccinated every year. Next we have antibiotics. So why we are giving antibiotics? Because the microorganisms are invading into the mucus of the patient, okay. They get a sustainable or suitable environment in the mucus, okay. So we are giving the antibiotics therapy to the patient. So here we are giving 2 drug regimen in an antibiotics. So first we have ticarcillin and clavinate combination. Next we have tobramycin and azithromycin combination. Next we have GI management. So we are doing GI system management here. Why we are doing GI system management? Because the patient is not able to gain the weight properly, okay. His food is not able to digest properly. He is having a constipation problem. He is having a nutritional problem, vitamins problem, and patient is suffering from diabetic condition, okay. So all these problems are coming in our GI system. So we will do the GI management here. So first we will give high calorie and high protein diet to the patient, because he is not gaining the weight. There is a malnourishment in the patient. He is having an energy less condition. So we will give high calorie and high protein diet, okay. And it's very important to give a frequent meal to the patient in a less amount, okay. The meal should be in a less amount, but it should be in a frequent condition, in a frequent interval, okay. So it should be high calorie and high protein diet. Next we have pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy. Means the pancreas are not able to release its enzyme, okay. That's why the lipids, fats and proteins are not able to digest properly. So we are giving the pancreatic enzyme from the outside of the body in the form of capsule and in the form of tablets. So here we are giving pancrelipase capsule to the patient, and this capsule is sprinkled into the meal and into the food of the patient, okay. So when the patient will take first bite of the food, then this capsule will go inside, because it is sprinkled into the food of the patient, okay. So that's why we are giving pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy. Next we have vitamin supplements. So patient have a low vitamin condition, okay. He is having a vitamin deficiency. Which vitamins? Fat soluble vitamins. For example A, D, E and K. These are the fat soluble vitamins which are less in his body. So we are giving fat soluble vitamin into the patient body, okay. So we are giving fat supplements. And next we are giving enema and laxative. If it's very important, the patient is having a condition of constipation, then we will provide the enema. And next we will give the stool softener to the patient, for example laxative drugs. Next we have salt supplementation, because in cystic fibrosis condition patient have an excessive sweating, okay. And in that sweat he will lose his chloride and sodium ions, which are very important in the body, okay. So we will provide the extra salt in his body, okay, in the food of the patient, in the juice of the patient. So we will give salt supplementation. Next we have insulin therapy. If the patient is diagnosed with diabetic condition, okay, then we will give him insulin therapy, and we will monitor the blood sugar level of the patient in a regular interval, okay. Next we have CFTR modulator therapies. So what are these therapies? These are the drugs which will modulate, okay, which will change the CFTR protein or gene, because cystic fibrosis condition is a genetic disease condition. So here we are treating the gene of the patient, we are treating the protein of the patient. That's why we are giving modulated drug, means it is modulating the CFTR gene. For example, we have CFTR potentiator here, and we have CFTR corrector here, okay. Why it is called as CFTR potentiator? For example, we have ivacaftor. So this potentiator drug will potentiate the chloride ion, okay. It will send some chloride ions into the cell into the lumen. Okay, so it is helping in bringing the chloride ion in the lumen of the patient. Okay, that's why it is named as potentiator. Okay, means some amount of chloride ions, it is this CFTR potentiator is helping the chloride ion to get inside the lumen. Okay, it is potentiating the chloride ions. Example, we have ivacaftor. Next we have CFTR corrector. Name is suggesting corrector. It means it is correcting the CFTR gene, CFTR protein. So this corrector will correct the mutation in the CFTR gene. And this two drug can be given in a same amount. Okay, so it's a two drug therapy. If this two drug is given in a combination, then it will work in a better way. Okay, it will help in changing the delta F508 mutation. Okay, so it's a best combination to give CFTR potentiator and CFTR corrector together for changing the mutation in the CFTR gene. Next we have surgical intervention. It's an end stage disease condition when all the management is failed and patient is not able to sustain his life properly, then at last we will go for surgical intervention. So for local surgery we have nasal polyp surgery, we have sinusitis surgery, and for large surgery we have like transplantation surgery, and we can also go for liver and kidney surgery also. Okay, so these were the treatment option for cystic fibrosis disease condition. Friends, if you liked my videos, so please like and subscribe to my channel for more new updates. Thank you so much.